Federico, we're back with another episode of Mac Stories Unwind. I have an unplugged topic for you that is perfect for this warm summer weather. I want to talk to you about ice cream.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
All right.
So that's an interesting choice. And so for the warm weather, makes sense. Ice cream consumption generally goes up in the summer.
It does.
Because it's a pleasant food to eat during the hot season. Before we started recording, you told me, I'm guessing that you're not a huge ice cream person, and that's an interesting perspective. And I think it comes down to the fact that that I'm not super into like sweets in general.
Right. That's where that was coming from for sure.
So my thing is, for the past couple of years, but especially for the past year, I've been trying to cut down on my sugar consumption as much as possible. And I used to love every single day after dinner to have a little dessert, like a little sweet snack, sort of like when you go to the restaurant and you get dessert at the end.
Who doesn't like that, Federico?
Everybody does, but it's not great for your diet. And
No, it isn't.
And so now every day after dinner, what I do is I have some fruit and just one tiny piece of pure chocolate, like dark chocolate, without like the one without milk in it, and and I actually go to a specific store and I buy a specific.
Of course you do.
And I buy a specific chocolate from South America with a specific amount of carbohydrates in it. Like it's a whole thing.
I love dark chocolate. I make my own dried fruit and nut mix with a little bit of dark chocolate chips in it, to give it a little bit of chocolate in there.
Dark chocolate, no milk, as little sugar in it as possible, very low on carbohydrates. So that's what we do. But until I was together with Sylvia. So until I was 18 or 19, I would buy snacks at the sweet snacks at the supermarket and have them for breakfast, in the afternoon as a snack, and after dinner. And that's been long gone as a habit. But so ice cream, I love ice cream, especially the artisanal one that you can get pretty easily in Italy. Really, it's everywhere. I'm guessing it's funny because I'm guessing you guys in America, and I can tell you that lately, in the past month, I've been getting these questions over and over and over. You can tell that American tourists are coming back to Italy based on the number of messages that I'm getting this year. But you guys think of gelato, as you call it, as a different type of ice cream? Which I find it so funny because the word for ice cream in Italy is gelato.
It's gelato.
For everything. It's the one you buy at the supermarket. It's the one you get in a cone or in a little cup at the ice cream place. It's all called gelato. But you guys think of gelato as like this fancy exotic thing that you can only get in Italy. And I find it so interesting as a difference.
I'm trying to think why that is. I suppose part of it is the way when you go to a gelato place, the ice cream is all in those long, narrow metal containers and scooped out of it that way, which is very different than the way it is here with ice cream.
What do you mean very different from the way it is?
Well, I would say that your typical ice cream shop that you walk into in the U.S. probably has a freezer with a little display above it, so you can kind of look down and see into the ice cream containers to see what the flavors are, and little labels on everything. But they tend to be big, round tubs, the
tubs. Yeah, you can buy those at the supermarket here.
Yeah, they're more like that, but they're much bigger than you would get.
Like that.
Yes, except that these tubs at an ice cream shop probably hold, I don't know, 2 or 3 gallons of ice cream. They're much larger. They're, and so it's usually a kid because it's usually like high school or college students doing this for the summer job. They will, you pick your flavor, they go in, they got their scooper, and they start scooping out your ice cream for you.
And they do it contextually, like in like, oh wait, so you don't buy the tub?
No. Yeah, I'm talking about going to an ice cream shop where you're going to get yourself an ice cream cone or a dish of ice cream just to eat there
Wow,
or
that's
to take out
wild.
with you, right?
That is wild.
You could
So
do that with gelato in Italy. I mean, there were plenty
no,
of
no, no,
gelato
but like,
places.
well, but you don't, but they don't scoop it up from a tub, like from. So they have an ice cream place here. It's what you said before. They have the narrow like containers and a
Right.
display, and so ice cream place in America. That's what I'm googling. Ice cream
Okay.
place in America. Well, they're just showing me pictures of cones.
All right. I have a picture for you that I will send to you.
Okay, so you send me a picture. Okay, so these are circular tubs, as you mentioned, and they're not as nice looking. I guess is a way to describe it. Not as nice looking
Yes.
as the gelato places in Italy. But okay, so but it's a similar concept though, right? So
It is. It is.
Okay,
It is.
okay,
I'm just
okay.
I'm just trying to think of why Americans think gelato is something different.
Because
Maybe
it's
it's
better.
because the flavor. Yeah, of course it is. It's the flavors. I don't know. And I remember going to Rome and being told by people like the hotel people or something, don't go to the ones on the main touristy areas because
Always.
they're not really good gelato. You got to really know where to go.
Right. So when you came here and you had gelato, was it better than your ice cream?
Yeah, I mean, it was very good. It was
very
different.
good.
I mean, it's just a little different. It's kind of an interesting consistency because it's a little bit in between. I think a lot of American ice cream is really, really super frozen and hard, whereas gelato has kind of a softer, creamier
Yes,
texture to
it's
it,
it
which
should be creamy. Yes.
yes, which is what I like a lot. I like that a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
I guess that's maybe the difference.
So I get it. I get it. So yeah, that's well, there's places in Italy, there's places in Rome that have been making gelato for like generations. Like
Oh, I'm
since
sure. Yeah.
the 1860s or whatever. Like they've been making
Yeah.
ice cream for like 150 years in some families. And they have these recipes that have been, passed down through generations of people. There's a couple of places like that in Rome. I'm guessing that that's maybe the difference, like going to like a gelato place in Italy that has been making just that artisanally, I guess, locally for decades, if not centuries, versus going
Right.
to a place which is just, they get these tubs of ice cream from a factory or whatever, and they just scoop it up for you, essentially.
Right, which is kind of like the fast food of ice cream because a lot of
Yes.
these places they maybe have different names on the shops, but the ice cream is the same one to the other.
Yeah.
Now I'm in North Carolina now, which is pretty hot, and I found a lot of really good ice cream places here beyond what we ever had in Illinois. That I don't know. I mean, like there's this one little shop called what is the name of it? I think it's called Ellie Mae's, and it's just out in the middle of the country. It's on this. It's like this little building next to a house on a corner in an area that doesn't have any other commercial stuff. It's just like in the country with houses around it and fields. And all of a sudden there's an ice cream place and it's the most amazing ice cream place around because they make all their own ice cream. Love that place. Another thing that we've got here and that is actually spread out, I think, a lot more in the US than it originally was, is something called frozen custard, which maybe has something in common with, well, it's maybe has something in common with gelato in the sense that it's very, very creamy. It's more of a soft serve ice cream than say gelato, of course, but it's extremely creamy, and they tend to mix stuff in with it. Like, you can mix in caramel or nuts or little bits of candy.
Okay.
or whatever
Okay.
it
So
happens to be.
soft serve is what I would call McDonald's ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Frozen custard is a little nicer, I think, than soft serve. Soft serve is the kind of things you would get at McDonald's at a fast food place,
yeah.
or here something called Dairy Queen, which has been around since like I don't know the 40s or the 50s,
Dairy Queen.
where Dairy Queen makes something called the Blizzard, and the whole gimmick with the Blizzard is that after they make it, it's a little bit like a milkshake, but they take the soft serve ice cream, they blend in something else, whatever you want, candy. Nuts, whatever it is.
No.
And then they give you the cup. It's all in a cup, like a paper cup. And they hold it upside down. And if it falls out, you get a new one for free. If it doesn't fall out, then you just
Why? Why do you guys
because
have
it's an
to do this
American.
thing?
That's a
Why?
very American thing.
Why? This is so unnecessary. Why mixing in the ingredient? Come on. I'm sure you can find some of these things with like the most disgusting things inside. Oh my god.
Oh, sure. You can get like like gummy bears or gummy worms. You can get those, you can get those blended in.
No. Why? Why would you do it? No. But I can tell you. So, what's your take on ice cream sandwiches?
I'm against them.
Oh no. So all right. So but let's make sure that we are on the same page, because in Italy, we have regional variations of ice cream sandwiches. For example, in some places you can get a cornetto, which would be a croissant with ice cream inside.
Oh, that sounds good.
In other places you can get what is called, and this is like, well, not other places, this is like a Roman thing, like typical Roman cuisine, but also in Viterbo. I mean, they are in the same region. It's
right,
called,
you're not that far away.
It's called a maritozzo. And so this is more like a little brioche with ice cream inside. So same idea, kind of like a pastry with ice cream inside.
I have had something like that before. I don't know where. I can't remember when, but I've had something similar.
I'm going to send you a link to...
That sounds very good.
I'm going to send you a link to the Google Images search results so you can get an idea of what it looks like. But for example, I was in Salerno a few weeks back. That's in southern Italy, pretty close to Naples. And they had something similar to the maritozzo, but it was like a different shape. It was more rounded. I'm pretty sure they called it they didn't call it pizza, but it was like...
These look really... Federico, this is not what I was thinking of when I was saying ice cream sandwich. I think of ice cream sandwiches as bad quality ice cream between bad quality cookies.
Oh, not cookies.
This looks so much better.
Oh, not cookies. No. Ice cream sandwiches, not a cookie. Oh, I see what you thought was an ice cream sandwich. Interesting. No.
I saw somewhere recently a restaurant, I think it's in Italy, that serves ice cream in a little, I think it's a glass dish, and they kind of create a little cone inside the middle of the ice cream, and then they pour espresso into that. That looked really good. Have you ever had anything like that?
No. So I just sent you a picture, John, of this different type of ice cream sandwich, and it's literally like a sandwich with ice cream inside that I had in Salerno, and that was incredible. It was like this bread-like pastry.
It looks pretty big.
It was big and it was delicious because you get the contrast of the literal sandwich around, like, and the ice cream inside. It was amazing. So yeah, that's what I mean. So you can see all these different variations of what I would call an ice cream sandwich. Literally, we would call it like a panino, so a sandwich with ice cream inside. And yeah, they are amazing. Yes.
All right, I got one more frozen treat to run by you, which is the Italian ice. Are you familiar with Italian ice? Look.
What?
Look it up on Wikipedia, because according to Wikipedia, this goes back 4,000 years when the Greeks and Romans used the snow from Mount Etna to cool their wines.
Italian.
It is essentially a little bit like a sorbet. Is this a
granita, but not called a granita?
Ah, yes, it is, because I'm looking at the page and they mention Sicilian granita.
It's like sorbet, really.
Yes, sorbet, really, yes. That is a very big thing here.
Oh, yeah, derived from the Sicilian granita. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, we don't call it Italian ice. Also, the Wikipedia picture looks horrible compared to an actual granita from Italy. Oh
these
my
are
God.
These are not good looking
Italian ice. This looks like, oh my God, I don't want to say it.
We have a very good Italian ice place near where we had our apartment last summer. And we used to walk down there on hot days, and they had probably like 20 or 30 different flavors, all kinds of stuff. Quite good.
You should. There's a whole world of frozen stuff in Italy. Like, for example, there's no English Wikipedia page, but another typical of Rome frozen sweet. I'm going to send you the Wikipedia thing. It's called the grattachecca. which is a very fun Italian word. That's literally
Yeah.
like scraped ice with some
Oh,
flavor.
sure.
And
We would call that shaved ice here.
shaved ice. Okay, yeah, that's
Yep, I've had
typical.
this.
You should try this when you're back here. Maybe, but you should be back here in the warm season. There's like these little kiosks where you can get it. It's super good.
Oh,
Yeah,
that looks really good.
yeah,
Wow, now I want some ice cream, Federico.
yeah. Me too.
All right, let's do some picks real quick.
All right, so my pick for this week is a fun show that I've been watching for the past few weeks with my girlfriend, and I really love it. And I'm all caught up and waiting for the next episode, and that is Platonic on Apple TV Plus. So Platonic, starring Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, they worked together before in, I want to say, Bad Neighbors 1 and Bad Neighbors 2.
Oh, that's true.
That is my type and Jennifer's type of comedy, I bet. Like, they played this couple in these two movies that had this problem with their neighbors, and the neighbors were like this college frat house that were throwing parties all the time. Yeah, that was fun movies. Anyway, Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne, they reunited for Platonic on Apple TV Plus, which is this romantic comedy about two former best friends who never went beyond their friendship status, who are having a sort of a kind of midlife crisis, both of them, and they reconnect after a very long rift in their relationship. And this friendship, this platonic friendship, which is like, it feels like more than a friendship, but also like it's not a romantic situation at all. This relationship reconnects so strongly that it becomes this, like, starts having this destabilizing effects in their personal lives. So Sylvia, played by Rose Byrne, Sylvia is this former lawyer who quit her job like 13 years ago to be a mom, to be a stay-at-home mom and raise her kids and, look after the house and, be really present for her kids. Whereas her husband played by Luke McFarlane, continue to like being a lawyer and going to work and sort of coming back late in the afternoon. And Will, played by Seth Rogen, is a brewmaster at a local beer shop, and is like this dude in his 40s, very laid back, goes to work late and stays up late every day and runs a pretty successful place, and is a very good brewmaster. But all this to say that they lead very different lives. And Sylvia, when she reconnects with Will is this very different type of person from Sylvia's regular circle of friends. Like all these, essentially like all these white moms that, they take their kids to school, and their husbands, they go to work and they come back in the evening and they go, they do yoga and, all regular like white people, suburban type stuff. And Will is like this dude that smokes weed and is into drugs and is a brewmaster, but they have this special relationship. And after a few years away, they start hanging out all the time. And so it's a very fun show because like it actually goes pretty deep at some point into like what it means to sort of like try and reinvent your life when you are in your 40s, what it means to hang out with friends, like why at some point do like grown-up people stop trying to have fun, for example. Is it possible to have fun as you used to do when you were in your 20s, for example? And also what it means to be like what it means to have a close friend when you're also married, when you are in a romantic relationship with somebody else. Can you be very close to somebody else if you also have a partner? Can you include your partner in this type of relationship? Like, this show asks all those questions. And lastly, I gotta say, I'm a huge Seth Rogen fan. I find Seth Rogen's type of comedy extremely my type of silly physical comedy. And yeah, so I'm very into this. And every week when a new episode is out, I'm happy. And It starts pretty slow. Sylvia was not convinced of the first 2 episodes, but then we kept watching because, again, I'm a huge Seth Rogen fan, and I'm glad we did because we love it.
Yeah, I've been watching this too and really have enjoyed it. I think I'm not caught up to the most recent episodes, but it's been on my list. So it's what I like about it too is they're relatively short episodes. So it's the kind of thing that's very easy to kind of get through. All right, so my pick this week is a Netflix movie called Vengeance, which is I believe the writing and directorial debut of B.J. Novak, who used to be
nice.
on The Office.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to say at the outset about Netflix, one thing about Netflix movies, which is I think I grade them on a bit of a scale, which is I come to a Netflix movie with very low expectations because Netflix's movies have a pretty wide range of quality from really, really bad to very few that are really what I would consider, worthy of being put on a big screen. And this one's maybe not a big screen type of movie, but it's definitely a streaming service type of movie in the sense that it's very entertaining, it's funny, it's a thriller. It's all about B.J. Novak, who is a writer in New York City for The New Yorker, and he wants to get into podcasting. He's not satisfied just being a writer. Sounds familiar, huh, Federico?
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to podcast too, and he's looking for a story, and he can't find a story. He wants to do, one of these narrative style podcasts that are very NPR-ish. And the movie opens with him and a buddy who are at a party, and they're just commenting on life and relationships and things. And it's an incredibly self-absorbed, narcissistic kind of conversation where whenever one of them makes a comment, the other one responds with 100% because they're just there kind of like they've got each other's backs. They're looking to hook up with somebody, and this is what they do. And the buddy is John Mayer in this case. So BJ Novak's character, Ben, he's the writer. He finds out, he's the next morning after this party, he gets a call, and it's from some guy in Texas who says that BJ Novak's, Ben's girlfriend has died tragically. And he doesn't know who this woman is. And he's having this conversation and realizes that it's one of his past hookups. But this guy, who was the brother, had called him thinking that they had more of a relationship than a hookup. And he was in this awkward position, didn't really want to say whether or not, didn't really want to tell the guy what the truth was. And long story short, he ends up agreeing to come to this woman's funeral in Texas. So that's the setup to what is very much a fish out of water type of story where you've got this East Coast writer wannabe podcaster guy who's into the hookup culture, going to Abilene, Texas, and meeting these rural Texan people whose daughter had died of a drug overdose, but they think that it was foul play, which kind of turns it into a bit of a thriller mystery type of show as well. And I don't want to give away how it works, but there's all kinds of interesting characters here, including Ashton Kutcher, who's playing a Texas music producer who's taking these young girls from rural Texas and giving them careers, or trying to give them, or saying he's trying to give them careers as singers. And BJ Novak goes there, and at first he's like just kind of looking down his nose at these people because they're all kind of very country in his eyes, and he's doesn't really like what he sees. And over time, you get kind of that vibe where he's like, oh, well, he starts getting to know people. He starts realizing that these people have a lot of the same problems as him. And it's got that kind of feeling going with it. But it's also a commentary on a lot of kind of the red state, blue state stuff that goes on in the United States, rural America versus urban America. And at times it gets a little too deep into that, in the sense that it makes it a bit of a jumbled mess at times in the middle of the movie, where you wonder, what exactly is it trying to tell you? But at the end of the day, it is a very funny movie, and it has kind of an interesting plot twist at the end in terms of this mystery about what happened to this young woman who died of a drug overdose. And it's got a lot of fun Texas style characters that I think you would like it, Federico, because it's got. I mean, I think it would play into your interest in different regions of America, and it's an exaggeration of what Texas is like, just like it's an exaggeration of what New Yorker writers are like from New York City. But it's also a lot of fun and kind of a cool way of doing it. And when he gets there and he's investigating the story, that becomes his podcast narrative. So he's there's all these scenes of him standing by the side of a road, a dusty road in Texas, saying, with working on his narrative with this incredibly dramatic podcasting voice, talking about this family that he's staying with. But by the end, he's just enjoying hamburgers at a roadside stand with the rest of them. And so it's really one of the better Netflix movies I've seen in a while. So that's Vengeance on Netflix. All right, Federico, that's it for another Mac Stories Unwind. We will be back in another week with more picks and maybe some more ice cream. I'm sure that people are going to have some follow-up for us about ice cream. So tell us your favorite frozen treat, whether you're from Italy, America, or somewhere else, and we'll talk about it a little bit next week. You can find the two of us over at macstories.net. We're on Mastodon. Just go to vitici.macstories.net or johnvorhees.macstories.net to follow us there. And we're on Instagram, where Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees, JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next Friday, Federico.
Ciao, John.